Okay, so we left off with America, so now let's talk about the effects of the eruption of Mount Tambora on China. In China, unseasonably cold weather killed trees and rice production fell to an all-time low. Floods ruined many of the surviving crops. The famine got so bad and resultant anti-government demonstrations were so severe that the government found itself in a weakened state to the point that many historians attribute China's delay as a global power to the eruption. In India, climate changes disrupted the Indian monsoons and caused three failed harvests, which resulted in widespread famine. This widespread famine brought the consequences of the eruption beyond the political, economic, and social consequences, as the aftershocks of the eruption could be observed in the sphere of healthcare. The famine in India brought rise to the Bengali cholera epidemic, which spread across the entire globe, becoming the first global pandemic and killing millions. Back on the islands nearby Mount Tambora, in addition to the 10,000s who died instantly upon eruption, roughly 78,000 more died due to disease and starvation. Of those who had survived the initial blast, many eventually died of violent diarrhea caused by volcanic ash contaminating the drinking water. Another sort of legacy of the eruption of Mount Tambora is on pop culture. It's actually thought that the novel Frankenstein is a result of the global cooling. Mary Shelley is thought to have been part of a group which actually sought to escape the cold of London and went to Lake Geneva. However, Lake Geneva, just like everywhere else, was affected by the global cooling, and eventually it became cold and wet. Everybody now was just sitting inside, indoors, and what they began to do to entertain themselves was they had a contest for who could write the scariest story. And it's from that contest that the story of Frankenstein emerged. While we don't have the exact death toll of the eruption of 1815, we do know that roughly 90,000 people died in and around Mount Tambora, and that at least 200,000 people in Europe died due to starvation and disease resulting from the ripple effects and climate change that the eruption caused. And let us remember that this number doesn't even factor in the millions killed by the outbreak of cholera, which was also a consequence of the eruption. As we can see, natural occurring climate change, which in this example was caused by a volcanic eruption, has the potential to result in the collapse or decline of a society.